How do we deal with those annoying detours in life? Welcome to this, your daily 180 Bible study. This week, we're going to be looking at some lessons from the conversion of the Philippian jailer in Acts chapter 16. I would encourage you to read through that beginning at verse number 16 through verse number 34. You might remember the conversion of Lydia. We talked about that in a recent study. And it seemed to be a very good time for the church in Philippi. Lydia and others had begun to respond to the message that was preached by Paul. And she obeyed the gospel, and Paul is out preaching in the community. And there is a young girl who is possessed by a demon. And she keeps going behind and announcing that this Paul is a servant of the Most High God. You know, there's certain people you don't want advertising for you. And finally, Paul drove that spirit out of that young girl. And it's rather interesting to me that we find there that this young woman had been exploited by various individuals, and they were using her to make money. And when they realized they weren't going to be able to make money anymore, they drugged Paul and Silas into the town, and they beat them with rods. They drugged them before the magistrates. They had them beat with rods, and then they threw them in prison. And they had their feet fastened in the stocks. And in verse number 25, we read that at about midnight they were praying and singing hymns to God. Now, here is the point that I want us to make. Number one, don't be discouraged by detours. Our life doesn't always go the way we think that it should go. Here Paul is having great success with Lydia, and it's kind of interesting. If you back up to the beginning of Acts chapter 16, Paul wanted to go into Asia and Bithynia. The Spirit said no. But that's where I want to go. No, I need you to go somewhere else. I need you to go to Macedonia. But why? Well, because Paul didn't know it, but he had an appointment with a woman beside the river named Lydia. Now Paul is going through the city, and he's had this success there. Why now be beaten with rods and thrown in prison? Well, God says, I've got an appointment for you to meet a Philippian jailer. You know, the detours in our life can be discouraging, but just keep this in mind. Isn't it good that if you're a faithful child of God, that your Heavenly Father is in control? Join us again tomorrow for your Daily 180.